worried about people losing these animals and their lives. And if you really dial it back and you actually think what we're doing is pretty crazy. It all falls back down to legislation and laws. It's probably scaring some people. It certainly scared me. There's nothing in nature that says a Burmese python or a retic should ever tolerate us like it's a big predator.
Howdy folks, Brian Cusco here at Redline Report, and today we're going to sit down with Kevin McCurley of Nerd. Now, we're going to start off a little silly and break our way into the real. It's kind of going through a rough time right now, so putting up a little bit of guards. I'm talking about Kevin. We're going through kind of a tough time, as a lot of the hobby is, actually. So you make it through some of the muscle milk, moose milk stuff, which I think is actually hilarious, but we're going to get into some pretty real stuff here, and Kevin's going to break down some pretty important stuff on many levels. So I'm starting to realize more and more that I do my best to listen on these videos, and I don't need to talk so much, and the only time I really need to talk on these videos is to prompt my guests to say the next thing they're going to say. If they're pouring it out there, I'm just going to be quiet and listen. So thank you guys for watching, and here's Kevin McCurley.
Here we are with Brian Cusco, Snivelly Podcast Incorporated.
This isn't a podcast, Kevin.
What is this?
This is just me and you sitting down talking. It's not a podcast, so it's not going to be long enough for that.
You know, my adoring fans want to know why Brian Cusco is so snivelly.
Why am I so snivelly?
Why are you so snivelly? Everybody needs to know why you're weak and tepid and snivelly.
It's because you took my seat in true Kevin McCurley style. You just
Did I really?
Just came on and was like, hey.
This was totally like dominant alpha, and you being a wee little beta guy. Where do you come from, like Honolulu? Where everything is.
I lived in Honolulu for a while.
Everything is very sweet. I come from like the Arctic tundra of misery and sadness, so I have to come here and belittle you, and then act in a very arrogant fashion on your very own, not a podcast.
Yeah. I would expect nothing less.
This is making my ear itchy. What are there bugs in my thing? You put brainworms that are going to impregnate my mind and then kill me.
Listen, I went to the doctor the other week and because I had a buzzing in my ear, and I told him, I was like, I got a buzzing in my ear, doc. And he said, oh, don't worry, it's just a bug going around.
Oh, that's a joke. Wow. That was very clever.
I was going to try not to break. I'll just edit out the parts where I break.
That was okay. I know. Dude, I think right now you got to get some of my epic moose milk and moose guzz, because you're looking a little... Yeah, I know. Oh, that's very good. That actually... Very impressive.
Thanks, because it's actually much smaller than it used to be right now.
I was actually joking. You're looking pretty awesome.
Thanks. Kevin?
Hi, everyone. I'm Kevin, and I'm known as the evil moth god. I like to breed butterflies.
I like that. Evil moth god.
Evil moth god, yes. We just flutter along and through life. That's all I'm doing.
Bro, it does.
Are you gonna ask me a real question?
It does seem a bit like that. Like you're kind of floating around like
I'm
a bit of a
fluttering around, Brian.
A bit of a butterfly. Is everything okay?
Yes, everything's great.
Okay. I do enjoy all the Snarfles voices, and I really do enjoy the East Coast accent. I'm really enjoying that, and I could tell you.
Hey, guy.
And I could tell that you're having
the
fun.
Women's.
And
but he's actually just channeling through me. I don't have anything to do with that voice. That's all him.
Hey, touche.
Yeah.
Well,
he hates his dad too. He was like picking on me the other day, and I was like crying. Did you see that one? You probably didn't see the video.
I missed that one. Sorry.
He was belittling me. He's very intolerant of me. So
this is your second time at a Tinley show in like 15 years?
No, last I was here like 5 years ago.
I know, but the time before that had been like a long time, right?
Yeah, I'm like what comes out like, was it Jeepers Creepers? He comes out like every 25 years, and then he kills everybody or something like that. That's me.
That's what's coming
but
next?
Life is doing that to me every 25 years, yeah. No, I still exist. I just don't necessarily exist at shows so much.
Yeah.
if you want to know why, are we actually going to talk about that? Is that what you want to talk about?
I don't.
Is that really, your narrative is getting weak and tepid, just like you. Can't you ask like some more hard-hitting things?
How is it going? How are you doing?
Well, I have a new line of Canadian milking bull mooses with like super extra huge testes. And then that is increasing my production. So, in the world of weightlifting, epic swole. But in the real world of reptiles, things are a little weak and a little rough.
Is that just reptile stuff? Is that just like this overall like?
No, my mental sanity has definitely been challenged. And clearly, listening to me talk like this, you go, something's really wrong with that guy. And there is. There's lots of things that are wrong. But I have to do this to amuse myself. Otherwise, I'll cry.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man.
Yeah. So, in the reptile world, it's tough because, at least with Nerd, we've gotten big. And I think like I've always been like a builder. So you see something, you embrace it, you try to, follow your vision, and then hopefully you achieve your vision. And then from there, you naturally see other things that you want to tackle. I'm always, goal oriented. And now we're in a world where life has gotten expensive. Life has gotten very hard for people. And even though some people would think, I'm just some like greedy, big reptile breeder, I'm really just a glorified hobbyist. I just, I'm so immersed in the animals, and I'm doing so many things that the amount of money it costs to actually do it and keep all these animals is definitely becoming a challenge. Getting the workforce of the people, getting employees that actually care, that want to help you take care of your animals. Because this is not like a get-rich scheme. This is like, you're doing this because you want to interact with these animals, you want to enjoy these animals, you want to breed these animals, you want to teach people about these animals. At the end of the day, there's not really like money. And now I'm seeing like, as our economy's suffering, the people are suffering, people are getting rid of their animals or downsizing, myself included, because we're being, forced into that. And then, it all falls back down to legislation and laws, and it's probably scaring some people. It certainly scared me in some ways, and our hobby's gone through a lot of changes, and I'm definitely feeling, all of those issues. So I think I'm just trying to find out when everything settles, like where I'm going to fit in, because I have a 14,000 square foot building.
Right, been there.
And that's loaded, and I have even another building that has stuff there too. And as I'm trying to downsize, trying to find homes with things, but my normal prerogative, which is to breed reptiles, has been really shut down, because as I breed reptiles, I have to make babies, and those babies need to be cleaned, fed, taken care of, photographed, put up on the website, and then I'm starting to have a lot of hard issues getting those things done in an efficient manner. So the first thing to do is stop breeding a lot of the reptiles, and that's what I have done. I've just, I'll like now go, instead of making 60 clutches, maybe I'm gonna make 6 clutches or something like that, and reduce my production, and then start liquidating, and then pulling back and figuring out what species I want to work with. What are like there's species I used to breed before, and then they were eclipsed by ball pythons and retics and boas and monitors, and I still have that same drive and passion to embrace those. And then so now I'm trying to get back. There's a lot of cool colubrids, but I started as a colubrid breeder. So I was breeding king snakes, milk snakes, a lot of milk snakes. I liked Pituophis, I like the pine snakes and stuff like that. I really like them. So I kind of fall back into colubrids, and I like the tropical rat snakes. I really am obsessed with Boega. I love Boega because here you got a rear fang venomous animal that really, like venom wise, I don't really consider like anything for me to worry about. But they're notorious to be ill-mannered, they're reactive and they're striking and losing their minds. And then I go and make friends with them, and I'm like, look how cute it is. And everybody's like, what? And I show how cute it is because I think it's so cute. And then I show this little thing that's cute. And now I'm stuck in this, everything's cute, like tokay geckos. Look how cute it is. Things like, want to maul you and stuff.
Hanging off your finger.
But yeah, I love to make things friendly, social. And I really enjoy the socialization stuff, and my core audience and my fans and everything like that. I've come up with that threads of trust thing. I show how to socialize all sorts of different animals, and then people. I've been able to, I came up with this thing on my own, and then I've been able to express it, but it's like threads of trust, and collectively threads equal a rope. But what that is basically helping people interact with that animal so we can actually kind of rewire the brain of that animal, so the next time or weeks down the road, when you go to interact with your animal, the animal anticipates you as not being a threat anymore, that actually might be something good. Something that it might enjoy because it's curious, or you're petting it, or you're doing everything like that. Because I do indeed think a lot of these reptiles really are tactile. They enjoy touch. And so I can rewire it. Because there's nothing in nature that says a Burmese python or a retic should ever tolerate us. Like it's a big predator. And it eats things. That's what it does. And it spends its entire life cruising around looking for things to eat. And then suddenly we're like, look, I'm playing with it. Now my whole family's playing with it. If you really dial it back and you actually think what we're doing is pretty crazy, because it's an apex predator, and we do not generally think of reptiles as being intellectual. That they're, initially people would say, it's just an instinctual animal, and it's just relying on its instincts and how it's behaving. That's so inaccurate. They hatch with instinct, and then we rewire them, and we show how malleable their minds are. And I love that, and I love teaching people to do that, because the more we can streamline these animals into the hearts of people, the more people will appreciate them. And I want them to appreciate these animals in the wild, that they deserve to be in the wild. They deserve wild places. We need to conserve this, but I also want to conserve reptile hobby keeping in the U.S. and abroad. And the only way we're going to do it is if we actually show these animals for what they are, and that they really have more value as far as like a life. It's not this nasty creature, that they are very, very sweet, and they can be really sweet. So we teach people to think that way, and hopefully when the smoke clears, we're still here and we still have a hobby.
Amen to that. Something you were saying reminded me of something that Terry brought up at Animal Con, when he was talking about the crocodiles and what the research they were doing, and learning about how like each individual scale or cell or scute was like, had memory built into it. Like it was learning things through touch, like you were saying. Like the apex predator doesn't make sense that they're reacting that way to us, but they were finding that there's actually like sensory stuff that is more than just feel, and like our skin feels, and they're actually like forming memories in their skin cells.
That's a pretty unique thought, and I don't know much about it, but I would not argue against it, because in the time that I've been interacting with these animals, I played with bugs as a kid. I'm still fascinated by bugs. I'm fascinated by anything that's not a human, and I just I find value in that. But I think what it is having an open mind and observing how something is, not like I think you're this way. Sometimes you have to just go, maybe it's a little different. And then if you take that and you make that your own, now you can start anticipating things, and then you start going, wow, my brain's now being rewired to appreciate this animal in a different light. And I think we tend to not give these some of these animals like the intellect that I sense or I see. I've shown with so many of my animals how intelligent they are, but
I think a lot of time people just look at like the physical structure of the brain. They're like, they don't have a neocortex, so they, by that deduction, they're not able to do anything other than fight or flight. And but that's the simple.
We're literally proving that they have such a memory. So in some ways, I don't think they're an animal. Like we always do this thing like, it needs this giant cage and it needs all this. It's really sad, because we are literally often we decide, it needs this, but these are cryptic animals in many cases. So they they thrive at being secretive, not being viewed. And when you start exposing them and putting them into a scenario like monitors, you take a monitor, you put them into this big open empty space, or even with fixtures, that center of that cage is like, I don't want to be there, because that's like a scary place. That animal needs to be confident. It needs to be safe and confident in its its own skin, and it needs to be willing to expose itself. And that means that it does not anticipate monsters in the room. But the only way that animal is going to be confident is if it actually recognizes people as being something good, something that's safe. And we are still in these throes of, well, it's got to be this big giant cage. Well, I think I've learned a lot about these animals, and sometimes it's not this big giant cage, it's the interactions and the frequency of activity of going into their environments. Like my lizards every single day are interacting with my people. Every single day there's somebody going in there and some interaction, and people just like, I don't know, they just like, I'm very much in this whole mindset of these animals and just seeing like a different angle of them. But there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot that we're achieving, and I definitely like to teach people like some of my little weird ideas. I like to get people to think a little differently, and I go to this show and I get to meet like, this is like not like, fake. This is like, I get to meet like people that are like, come over and like, oh my God, it's you. You helped me become friends with my blood python. That to me is awesome, because that normally that blood python that's like, this thing's or whatever, and then it becomes that, I don't want this thing. Now it's just like, I love my blood python, and it's so wonderful. And I'm like, you get it. That's what I love, because you're taking a bad and you're turning it into a good, and then they're going to tell people, and they're going to expose people to how wonderful we think these animals are. Because I think you're like me, we don't keep these animals because we want to watch them eat rodents. We keep them because we're like, what is this animal thinking? And why is this animal like me? Why do these snakes like you? Why does your albino retic like you?
That is an interesting one. I mean, she comes out and she checks me out and comes towards me.
And it's as simple as you can think it is, because she knows you're safe, you're part of her environment. If she comes up to you, something good's gonna happen. And it's like, that's a need. You're giving it a need. Like, I can take monitor lizards, and you're holding them, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm getting nervous and like getting worried, and then I can touch it and I can calm it right down. And it's so what it just did, it got confidence because I'm reassuring it. How is a lizard doing that? That's like a cat, a dog, something that, chicken or whatever. Because, chicken, let's face it, is far more intellectual than our snakes. But not when you start talking about lizards. Now birds are being rivaled. These lizards, even though they're cold-blooded, that articulate mind, like a water monitor, is a little genius. Absolute genius. The more you interact with them and the more give and take, you see these animals in such a different light, and they're truly remarkable. I mean, it's like, how can a cold-blooded animal that needs to be heated up before it can even have an awareness? How is that thing so smart? Well, clearly they're evolved part of this whole thing, bird-like things, but their brains are so smart. But water monitors, I think, are an ideal reptile mind, because you can get so much out of them. They know you. I want to say love, but they absolutely want to interact with you, and they're drawn to you. They're drawn to their owners, and they could be specific just to you. But your retics, let's face it, are top of the pyramid as far as snakes, as far as intellectual minds, that they have knowledge of who you are. They know you by sight, they know you by smell, they know you by behavior. And we know snakes are not deaf, they can hear. So, that's it's just funny. We have all these like, old wives' tales, but they might hear us like, wah, 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 maybe not like this.
They don't have an open hole of the footed bone.
Articulated, but you walk in the room and you're like, hi, and then the eye goes, and it's like, that snake clearly is hearing. But, what is hearing? It's just vibration, how it's picked up and processed. But they're really, really remarkable. And like your albino retic, you have a relationship with that animal. And I would probably say that animal, you could put somebody in there that's different than you, and that snake's like...
I mean, yeah, I've watched that happen.
Yeah. I mean, so that's pretty smart. So that animal's literally, it's quantifying, it's not my dad. It's not dad, or what I always say, like, daddy or whatever. But it's not something that I'm comfortable to, that I'm drawn to. That animal is seeking you out because you naturally you're affectionate towards it. And as you're touching it, the retic's like, yeah. I have mangrove snakes that... like going crazy. I sit there and start petting their face, and they're like, ooh, I like that. And they're like, they'll start pushing into it, and you're like, but you're a little monster. And I've start out like little monsters, and I just do this, and I keep doing it, and after a while, it's like, they're sweet, and they're not supposed to be sweet, and it goes with reticulated pythons. Like a lot of people in some states, they're outlawed. Nobody can have retics because that's like the scary, super gnarly, super aggro, super feed response, super huge, super dangerous. And all of those things in the worst context, yeah, they are all those things. But in an area where we're actually being intellectual and we're actually thinking about what we're talking about and what they need, we find that retics are like a breeze. They generally can be just amazing. I do educational stuff with kids all the time, and there's kids fawning over all these big retics. The retics are just like, this is great. The retics love it. I have retics that literally love that whole social interaction. So I guess this is some of the weird stuff that I do.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. Well, I think I already kind of know the answer, and our producers are telling us we have to wrap. But what?
Tell him to shut up. I'm sorry.
Where do you want to go next?
I want to reduce my collection down to a more manageable level, so I can have less employees, and I need to be able to leave my building. I need to go out. I need to visit other people. I'm very much into conservation, and I want my knowledge, my unique set. I would like to have value in the world of conservation, because I do things in conservation right now, and my mindset has been very, very rewarding for those conservation projects, that I'm able to achieve things and actually able to teach other people that normally would never, ever consider the things that I consider. And these have become effective things, and it's progression. I want progression. But I'm changing some of the species that I'm working with, and I still will do ball pythons. I love ball pythons. Obviously, monitor lizards I love, and retics and all that stuff. But I'm kind of taking some of my backseat projects, like tokay geckos, like Asian rat snakes, like my boega, red tail rat snakes, black Asian rat snakes. I mean, just so many cool, different little weird things. I like the weird behavior snakes. I like Oxybellus, like the Central and South American giant vine snake. That's a really cool animal. It's got this really interesting little intellect. Tokay geckos get such a bad rap, but you can take tokay geckos and turn them into very, very sweet. They're highly intelligent animals, but they have to be willing to trust you for you to ever get there. So where am I going? I have no idea, but I'm trying to survive. That's a tough one.
Well, I think you will. It's going to be tough, but you're going to get there, man. If you need any help, if anything I can ever do,
it's going to get tough. I'm pathetic.
You're good, dude.
I really am.
You're good. Hey,
thanks.
No, we are all pathetic in our own special way.
I'm sorry you only got to ask like one question, and then I just rambled.
I wasn't expecting to. What I've learned is that, and I've been doing this most of my life, is I'm a fairly decent ear, so I'm not I'm genuinely the one to hear what people are talking about. You're especially high on that ladder, so I don't need to talk. Unless it's to prompt you to say something.
He does voices. He has bad personalities inside. I have.
No, really, I don't have this need to like talk. I just my only reason to be here is so that you can talk and you're not just talking to an empty space.
Well, I do appreciate you, and like you have a very you're very level. You're very real. There's, like Adam Wickens and you, like people like I like to listen to you guys talk, and you're just you're thoughtful and all that stuff like that, which is really great. You're not you're not just doing all the hype stuff. It's I think what's very, very important is with our platforms. I think we need to, as we're surviving in today's day and age, I think with our position, we also need to always give back and always think about our hobby. I'm always forever worried about the hobbyist. I'm just a glorified hobbyist. That's all I am. And I want to represent the mindset of these people and our hobby, and I worry for our hobby, and I want to try to help our hobby, because if I didn't have this hobby, I don't think I'd be alive. I suffer from chronic depression, so my animals are my escape, and if I didn't have my animals, I don't think I would ever have been able to last this long. And I understand there's a lot of other people, and I think there's a lot of us that keep these reptiles because we do have our, social anxieties or, just really dark moods and, just stuff, and myself included. And I'm not saying I'm advocating for, I have all sorts of mental problems, but it's allowed me to find something that's more important than maybe what I'm feeling because I have to take care of something or I lose myself. But I think these are very, very important for our mental well-being, and I'm really worried about people losing these animals and their lives, and I think that would be tragic. But I think we really need to band together. We need to be one tribe. We need to support USARK desperately, and USARK is working very, very hard, to the point where is it ever going to stop? Because it's just coming on like a freight train. But remember, I talk to people well, USARK, what's USARK doing about that law and about this law? What's USARK? USARK is a handful of people. It's a culmination of people. And it needs to be driven by a throng of vocal advocate hobbyists. And sometimes that throng is like a little crowd of people. And I think we really need to be, more proactive, but back to your platform. Always giving back, always coming back to the hobby and trying to make sure that we stay alive. Because I see a lot of people that have big social media followings, and I don't hear anything about hobbyist advocacy. I don't see anything about USARK. It's always just I don't know if you want to live in smoke and mirrors and make believe. I'd rather just be the realistic person and get people thinking, because I'm worried. And I think people should be worried. But when we're worried, that means we're more willing to act than when we're just yeah, everything's great. And I think right now we're in a time where we need to be advocates and we need to act, because we could fast forward to 5 years from now and go, oh my God, what were we thinking? We didn't do anything. So that's one of my many messages.
I hear you, man.
Yo, I just want to let you know it was really wonderful taking the time as you listen to my little pea brain spill out the narrative that we need to all be
jacked.
Yo.
Thanks, Kevin.
Bye, buddy.
Appreciate you, bro.
You too. Thanks.
Thanks you guys again for watching. Planning to have a lot more awesome guests like Kevin on, though Kevin is a very special case and is not really a whole lot of the Kevin McCurleys out there. There's actually only one that is Kevin McCurley, and anything even close to being like him. So Kevin, man, I appreciate you, bro, and thank you for coming, sitting down, talking with me for a little bit, and I love to hear what you have to say, man. So thanks again, and we'll see you right back here next week on Tuesday on the Redline Report. Y'all take care.
Whatever he says. Whatever he asks me. Do I need him? Yo. I look so professional with these things. Dude, I gotta turn them around.
Voices of